From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, spring means optimism, but are we being maybe a little too optimistic when judging this offense? Your basketball coach is still under contract for 1 year, but at the end of it, what tiers will you have available for his replacement? And our takeaways after speaking to 7 gentlemen who will be participating in Friday's Pro Day. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com, QR code on your screen. Hit it with your phone's camera app. It'll take you to cptallybar.com. That's a website. 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Type that in your phone. It'll take you directly to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Only $8.99. Can't emphasize that enough. What value in these strange times we live in. Thursday's lunch special, the cheesesteak sandwich. I don't want cheesesteak sandwich, Aslan. Well, how about a chicken cheese sandwich, everybody? It's incredible the options they give you at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. You also get a side dish of your choice. All that, again, for only $8.99. Check it out later tonight. Bingo. Check that one out as well.
Remember,
Warchant.com, your
all
ultimate
day.
Seminole sports source. That's a good website to constantly keep your thumb on the pulse of the Noles. We got you covered in every way imaginable. Pro Day on Friday. More interviews later today. Oh, practice today as well. Can't wait for that as well. Also to hear Corey Clark's voice. Corey, you there with me? How are you, friend?
I am, and I wanted to say, don't forget, March Madness starts today. So what better place for those early afternoon games than Corner Pocket?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can watch all 4 of them at once on the big screen, drink some libations, and eat your pretzel or your cheesesteak or whatever you want to eat. What a great time of year, Aslan. Don't you think?
It's, again, these 48 hours, the Thursday, Friday. Saturday, Sunday's fun too, but just the mass volume of games on Thursday and Friday. Just, baseball players can't go on spring break because they're playing baseball in college. Unfortunately, sports reporters can't go on adult spring break to Vegas for the opening weekend of the tournament because they've got to cover football. But that's the one bucket list. I mean, that's not really a bucket list thing, but if I could do Vegas opening weekend, that'd be just so stellar. But I want to go cover the Noles instead. So let's go cover the Noles later today, Corey, shall we?
Let's do it.
You're well, though, I trust, yes?
I mean, I'm okay. Had a tough workout on Wednesday, and my back, because I'm old, starting to feel it a little bit, which I don't like. Yeah. It's my body kind of telling me to cool it, but I don't care. I'm not listening. So probably end up in traction here soon enough. But, yeah, so the back's not feeling great. It's barking at me a little bit, but I guess that's the price of being old.
Like the lower back or just like the muscles, your teres major and your latissimus dorsi are just like throbbing, tight muscles, or is it lower back stuff?
A little lower. Well, all the above, I guess I should say. Mostly a little lower, but yeah, I feel like it's just all around. It's just a natural soreness from, having a back like this, just a monster back. I look like Lou Ferrigno.
Strong reference. Yeah, just avoid the lower back and you'll be all right. At least that's like my anecdotal evidence. Hey, we're going to do some questions from the Renegade Express mailbag, but last time we did one of these, I forgot to get to a question, so I apologize to that gentleman. It was back in February. But he just asked, part of his question was he wanted to know what I was wearing underneath my trench coat in Charlotte at Resident Culture. He kept picturing the scene in the strip club from Beverly Hills Cop when the bad guys came in wearing trench coats with shotguns underneath.
Right, yeah.
It was rain. I know there was rain in the forecast, and I'm like, I can finally bust out the trench coat. It's cold and it's raining. Perfect trench coat weather. But I learned that I should be wearing a tie if I'm going to wear a trench coat. Otherwise, I guess it looks a bit funny with just slacks and a button down. 2, is ripped Corey here to stay, or will you slowly let it all fall apart when you get to 50? Speaking of 50, I'm 51. I advise all listeners over 40 to only take half a shot of Vitamin G and to plan to get active ASAP. Took a bottle for my first dose, wound up sprinting through the parking lot to warm up going into the gym. Using Warchant BOGO and my advice gets you 4 servings for the price of 1. Chris in San Diego. Oh, it's Chris in San Diego. Now I feel really, really bad about answering the question. He's the best. He's always coming to stuff with Warchant folks there. Chris,
And it's a great question about if I'm going to stay ripped. Probably not, but I don't think I'm going to let it all fall apart either. A nice medium, right? Like, I never want to get back to what I was. That would just be completely defeated if I did, because it's been kind of hard work to get to where I am. I don't want to let it go and let down the the 45-year-old that started it. But yeah, I can't imagine I'm still doing this 6 days a week when I'm 59. But hey, maybe I will. Maybe that's the key to living to 100.
Jack LaLanne over here, I think.
Well, didn't he die running?
He lived really long.
I guess he died
he was
doing
fit his whole life, it seemed.
Yeah, but I feel like he died at kind of a younger age than he should have. But I could be wrong. But either way,
well, like 85 instead of making it to 90.
Oh, did he make it to 85?
I don't know. I'm sure he made it. He had to make it deep, I thought. 96 years old, Jack LaLanne lived
still.
Hey,
you know what? Yes, I'm doing Jack LaLanne then. I'm doing Jack LaLanne. Absolutely.
So that's cool, man. Like, you're married again, and now like you want to live forever. Like, I don't know, these people are like, I don't want to live. I'm good. Like, I'm like, I don't know, man. As long as I have dignity, like, let me live. Like, I want to live a long time. I want to see as many titles back in Tallahassee as possible.
Right. And when you have a kid, that makes you want to live longer too.
Yeah,
especially if he can marry up athletically.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like
apparently,
socially. I thought you meant like class.
No, I don't care about the finances. I care about athletically. Get somebody that runs track, 5'10", and then get an athlete. Marry somebody because he's a pretty good athlete. Yeah. Marry somebody that's a better athlete than him, and then I'll be his coach. I'll have nothing to do when I'm 70 years old.
I like it.
I'll coach that kid, and we'll make them, and then we'll all get to be big leaguers together. Our NFL parents, I don't care, whatever it takes.
Hey, let's get some of these questions in the Renegade Express mailbag. I did it kind of last minute, so there's not a whole bunch, and then I guess we can end things with our thoughts on all the guys that are back in town for Pro Day. What a long day, what a long, odd day Wednesday ended up being, but fun at the same time.
It's cool, but yeah, tell people we talked to, was it 7?
Yes.
And then today it's 8?
I think it's 7 again, if I'm not mistaken.
But Jordan's one of them, right?
Yeah. 4,
okay,
5.
we get Jordan for the first time.
Yeah, 8. Golly.
Yeah, so it's going to be it's not like they come one right after another. So we talked to 7 different players: Verse, Fisk, Dent, Deloach, Benson, Rosenberry.
Respect the long snapper.
Rosenberry, All-American long snapper, and Dimitri Emanuel. And then today we get 8 more guys that all have a chance to be drafted, which is cool, man. I don't think this happens a lot at other schools. I think you can get them, but the way it used to be at Pro Day, for Pro Day, is you just get them on the side during Pro Day. Like, after they were done, you'd have to go up and ask, hey, can we get you for a few minutes? It's cool that they organized this for us. But it's right in the middle of spring practice, and it's 15 dudes in 2 days, so it's a lot. It's a lot of content. But it's better to have a lot of content than no content, Aslan.
So, Dalvinism. Wake up. Obviously, Mike Norvell deserves all the benefit of the doubt after these last 2 seasons. Here comes the but.
Yeah.
All caps. But are you at all worried that we are falling into the same trap that we did in 2021, where we were bringing in a very notable one-year mercenary quarterback and giving him the reins instead of developing the guy that will emerge as the future of the program? Obviously, DJ Uiagalelei is a much better player than a limited McKenzie Milton, but I can't help but feel the same pattern could be emerging. Thoughts?
No, I don't think they're – I get the question, but I don't think they're similar. Number one, it turned out Jordan Travis was a pretty good college quarterback even in 2021. I don't think Brock Glenn and Luke Kromenhoek are 2021 Jordan Travis. You can't – I just don't think you can go into a season with those 2 guys as your starters not having any real experience. The only experience Brock Glenn has is watching Toa Feely take a Wildcat handoff 74 yards. That's his only time his team scored a touchdown in 8 quarters with him at quarterback. So he doesn't have – not saying he's not going to be awesome. He could be great, but he doesn't have a lot of build on. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He doesn't have a lot of success. I think that position's too important to go in with 2 complete unknowns that have never done it. And I think this season has a chance, if things break right and these guys can be as good as we think, the transfers and the underclassmen that are becoming upperclassmen, that they could be a playoff team. 2021 was never going to be a playoff team. And you didn't know what Jordan was. So I get bringing Milton in. In hindsight, they should have gone. They could have gone and gotten somebody that had 2 working legs. That would have helped. Or they could have just believed in Jordan Travis and chalked up the Notre Dame game to a bad game, and stayed with him. And they go to a bowl that year. They certainly beat Jacksonville State. So I get the question, but no, I think you even said it in the question. 2024 DJ Uiagalelei is a lot better than 2021 McKenzie Milton, just because he couldn't do it physically. And DJ, I can promise you can do it physically.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add. That's everything is accurate there. I could not imagine what their record would be. My enthusiasm, my prediction for their final record this year would be drastically different if they did not bring in an experienced, productive quarterback. There was a point there, I don't think it was for the ACC championship game. Maybe it was. But I remember looking around at practice. I think I asked you or Ira, I was like, what would this team's record be if this was the team that was playing all the games? Like a lot of guys were injured. They weren't practicing. I'm like, they'd still be like 9-4?
I think it might have been bowl practice.
Yeah, one of you guys was like, yeah, man, I don't know, man. Like, we might be at this practice right now. This who is rolling out there every single game, though.
Well, think about all the guys we talked to on Wednesday.
Yeah.
None of them played. And think about all the guys we're talking to today. None of them played in that Georgia game. So if you take away literally, 90% of the best players on Florida State's 2023 team, yeah, they struggle probably to win 4 games. But so yes, and you saw the result in Miami on January 1st or whenever that stupid game was played. So yeah, I don't think that, and also I think it's good for these 2 young guys. They get a year to learn, another year in Brock Glenn's case, but 1 year in Kromenhoek's case to get to learn from a veteran quarterback, get to see what it means to be a college quarterback, and learn that way. And then they are going to have a real fight on their hands for that starting job next year. So I do think that I do think this was the right decision for sure, and I think Milton was the wrong decision, clearly.
Let's go to our guy Mark down there in Naples. He ends his letter with saying, Corey, can you ask Bill to open a corner pocket in Naples, or I want to say Bonita Springs. I think it's Bonita. I think I said Bonita last time and people got really upset.
Bonita, yeah.
I'd want to say Bonita, but hey, we pronounce things funny sometimes in this part of the country. Sports bars down here are average at best. I think corner pocket would crush. It would be the FSU watch party location for every game, just saying. So float that out there to our guy Bill.
Hey, I don't know that he's looking to expand, but I'll float it out there for sure.
All right, he listened to the Jared Verse Pro Day interview, just got done listening to it, and says Warchant was all over it. Were you as impressed with him as I was? I mean, the guy has tremendous belief in himself, has worked really hard, and he seems to be an awesome teammate and friend as well. The quarterbacks, they're getting a lot of hype, of course, and the NFL drafts are weird, so you never know what team is going to do what based on their needs. But much like the Jets with Jermaine Johnson, any NFL team who drafts Verse is going to be very happy. Do you agree?
I do. I don't know what his upside is. I'm not smart enough to know that. I
Lamar Woodley. That was the NFL.com comparison from his Lamar Woodley.
Well, I mean just in terms of career length. Like, is he a 10-year guy? I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he's in the league for 10 years. And whether he's picked 9th or 19th, if you're in the league for 8 to 10 years at that range, you are a success. Clearly, your bank account will tell you that. But also that means you were good enough. And I look at that guy. I don't know that he's going to be an all-pro. He might be a Hall of Famer. I literally have no idea. I do know that I think that he is going to be a long-time NFL player. I think he has the right mindset. Self-belief is mighty important. He will struggle at times as a rookie. They all do. But that guy's confidence will never waver, ever. And I do think that's it's not half the battle, but it's a lot of the battle is just believing in yourself. What a unique story. I wrote about it on the website. Now, we all know the story, but when you really take a step back and think of where he came from, Jermaine Johnson, his story was a unique journey too, but he was the number 1 JUCO player in the country. And he was a D1 recruit that had to go JUCO, right?
Yes.
Jared Verse was a nobody.
Well, yeah, he was he wasn't Georgia caliber coming out of high school, but he probably would have been, if he had his grades right, he would have probably gone somewhere a little bit more better off than Indy.
Yeah, so he ends up at, Independence or wherever he was, and then it goes to Georgia and then doesn't play as much as he wants, and then becomes the ACC Player of the Year. That's itself a unique journey. But it ain't like growing up in Philly or Pennsylvania, wherever Jared Verse is from, having to go to Albany because nobody wants you, and then coming to Florida State and turning yourself into a first-round pick. I mean, that's a unique journey, much like Braden Fisk. You wonder when these types of stories will stop with Florida State, and they'll just start being the Dallas Turners of the world from Alabama that just were expected to be great and were great. You know what I mean? Like, no more diamonds in the rough, or very, very few diamonds in the rough, because that's probably another step in the program. There aren't a lot of guys that get drafted in the first round out of Georgia that are like they're getting asked questions about whether they ever lost faith in themselves or ever had any doubt. You know what I mean? They were like, what are you talking about? I was the number 9 player in the country. I was a 5-star. Everybody in the world wanted me. Yeah, no, I didn't doubt myself. But Florida State has those guys. Braden Fisk, Trey Benson, Jared Verse, Johnny Wilson, Jordan Travis. I think eventually the next step in the program is that those cases get more and more rare. But they are really cool cases, right? I mean, I just think that's a neat – Braden Fisk and Jared Verse – the fact that they came to Florida State and did what they did from where they came from is just really neat. And I would assume almost all Florida State fans feel genuinely excited for those two young men, not just because they were awesome at Florida State, but because you know their stories and where they came from, and now they're about to be millionaires. That's cool. It's a cool deal.
I think Von Miller has played 13 years now in the NFL. Lamar Woodley played 9 years, won a Super Bowl, was a second-team All-Pro, and a Pro Bowl selection.
Okay.
So maybe somewhere in the middle of those two guys. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, absolutely, Jared. Go get them.
Yeah, it is so tough to tell. I don't know, I feel like J.J. Watt, like Von Miller, those guys. Who's the guy in the Browns? Myles Garrett, like those guys.
He was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That guy is incredible. But you can have a long, sustained career and win a lot of games being with Jared Verse. You know what I mean? He's not going to embarrass you. He is good. Perhaps really, really good. But, yeah, it's always a crapshoot, right? Even at that level, even the top 10 or 12 pick, it's always a crapshoot.
Yeah. Let's go to Kentucky. Dave, bourbon is your friend. It's cool how me and Link Jarrett have the same personality. All business. Aslan, could you read the limerick I just wrote? Okay, here we go. There once was a guy named Dave. FSU football he did crave. Noles playing across the pond. Dave's bringing the whole family along. A transatlantic flight with a 3-year-old we shall brave. Oh, geez. Am I supposed to read the rest of this? I've got someone in mind for the new basketball coach in waiting. Someone that if he sees Buddy Boeheim punch Wyatt Wilkes in the stomach would have stood up Wyatt and beaten up his dad for good measure. Worried about court storming, he'll be there waiting like Russell Crowe in Gladiator. Say it with me now. Jawan, come get some Howard. Are those two limericks? Or
that second one didn't sound like a limerick. You certainly didn't read it like one, so it's hard to tell.
It wasn't spaced the way the limerick was. Right. The limerick was properly spaced, formatted. So, hey, real quick on, not even real quick. We can expand a little bit here. Good limerick. The first one, Dave, solid. I like that one. But let's just, again, everything in moderation. Pick our spots.
Also, it's awesome you're bringing a 3-year-old. It's also not awesome for the people on that flight. I guess 3-year-olds are okay, right? They're not crying.
You tell me.
I've never had a child. The babies are the issue.
You're the one that's had children. Yeah, I mean, I've never understood that whole thing. Like, it's rather unfortunate. I guess, like, if you really hate kids and you're that person, I really like kids. So even if I was next to one that was crying, I think I'd find a way to, put a brave face on and not get sourpuss face about it all. But some people don't like children, so I get it. But we can't worry about those people because Dave's bringing the whole family along.
Nice. That'll be fun. What a fun trip.
Yeah, we mentioned at the other show about, I asked you, like, Sam Cassell and Laux, are those real kind of options and not Brady Lauk? Is he Lauk or Hauk, the pitcher now we got? Brady Lauk.
Yeah.
But Luke Laux. FSU Guy 2000 was saying, I hope Aslan's not being serious, or he was just pandering to a very small minority. And I'm just like, I don't know who you really get. It feels like I would take Will Wade, Aslan would, because I'm crazy like that. I'm like, you either get a wild card, a ho-hum mid-major coach, or how about an alum who really, really wants a job and has been in the NBA? And he kind of took a little bit of exception. He says, why do you think we can only target retreads? And I mentioned Bryce Drew and Richard Pitino as like maybe you're the mid-major guys you would be able to get. He's like, why is it only a ho-hum mid-major? Why is there no middle ground between ho-hum and somebody completely attainable like Shaka Smart and Sean Miller? I thought those guys were unattainable. That's what I said that. So he's like, why not a good mid-major coach? Maybe somebody like Dusty May, Amir Abdul-Rahim, Pat Kelsey, Mark Byington, Darian DeVries. I think DeVries is maybe at Drake. Byington might be at James Madison. I don't know about Pat Kelsey. UF hired a ho-hum dude from the original USF. Good joke. And just like that, they've leapfrogged us while handing us 2 rather embarrassing losses. Like, what are the tiers you think for Florida State? Because Louisville is the premier job opening right now. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
I don't know where Florida State would fall in the pecking order of anything else that is going. It is the ACC, but this conference has not played great basketball of late, but it has such a great reputation. But the conference's future is kind of up in the air. I don't know. Maybe Amir Abdul-Rahim from USF. That's a reasonable quote-unquote ho-hum mid-major. I mean, what tiers would you list as possibilities for Florida State to fish in, Corey?
Well, I mean, look, don't we think the most fair comparison is Florida? Like, in fact, Florida's a better basketball program than Florida State. They've won 2 national championships. They've been to 5 Final Fours. And their last 2 hires were the guy from Louisiana Tech,
Mike
and
White.
the guy from San Francisco, right?
Todd Golden, yeah.
So that's the pond you're fishing from, unless you're going to get an assistant from a big time school. Like, that's it. That's or an assistant from the NBA. Those are who you're not going to get. I mean, Dusty May, maybe.
Nah,
I guess
he's waiting for Indiana. Apparently,
I just think when you take FAU to the Final Four, you're waiting for a bigger job in Florida State. I could be wrong. I think they should actually absolutely ask. But yeah, I would think that he's outcoached. If he's going to, when he leaves, it will be for one of the blue bloods. And Florida State is not a blue blood in basketball. So, yeah, I mean, they're not going to get a Shaka Smart, and I don't think that's what the question was suggesting.
No, it wasn't. I was saying that, like, you're not going to get, like, in terms of mid-major coaches, you're not going to get the elite ones, like a guy like Shaka or Sean Miller.
But the thing is, you don't know who's elite. Like, you could be great at a mid-major and fall flat on your face at Florida State or Florida or wherever.
Those 2 guys did, right? I mean, they fell on their face at Texas and Arizona. Well, no, he was fine at Arizona. Sean Miller was okay at Arizona. It was the phone calls getting tapped.
Yes, correct.
Hurt him.
Correct.
So.
And Shaka now is at Marquette, right? And
he's back.
Top 10
to
top
Marquette.
10 in the country. He can coach, but he fell on his face at Texas. He wasn't very good there. And you just don't know, man. Like, so that's where it's like there's no guaranteed route to success. There just isn't. And so it'll be interesting what that pond looks like. It really will be interesting, because there will be coaches that are interested, not huge names, but there will be mid-major coaches that have achieved some success and won some conference tournaments and maybe pulled an upset at the NCAA that you could go get, but that doesn't guarantee anything. Like, winning at Tulsa, as we found out, is a heck of a lot different than trying to win at Florida State in the ACC. That was the person right before Leonard Hamilton. So, you don't know. You don't know. So, I'm not really answering the question. I do think that it's an attractive job, because just, less than 5 years ago, they were ranked in the top 10 in the country. And less than 3 years ago, they were in the Sweet 16 for the 4th time in 5 years. So Florida State has shown it can have a really high ceiling. But that was before NIL. That was before the portal. And more importantly, maybe, Aslan, it was before Florida State sued the conference it's in. And so there is a lot of, it's some instability here. And it's hard to go get a big name, any coach, when you can't tell them for sure where he's going to be coaching in 2 years, like what conference he's even going to be in. So it's going to be interesting. I literally, I'm not going to even pretend to have any idea what route they'll take and what the best route is to take. There's no way to know. There's every possible example. Coach at a small mid-major or a small major becomes a great coach. Coach at a mid-major becomes a great coach or a horrible coach. They're all walks. I thought Buzz Williams was going to be awesome at Texas A&M. They're just kind of average, right?
Yeah.
And he was good at Virginia Tech and Marquette. Yeah. And he goes to A&M and with more money than he knows what to do with, and he's still just kind of average. So you just don't know, that's why you guys all listen to this show, right? For Corey Clark just to tell you, who knows? Who knows? Next question.
He did mention FSU guy. He was saying, what about Chris Mack?
Sure, man. It's a funny name because he was really good at Xavier. He was good at it for a time at Louisville. Like that COVID year, he had himself a team too. They weren't as good as FSU. Clearly, they lost to him twice. But he has proven he's a good coach. His personality is a little unique. It's a little quirky. But yeah, he certainly, to me, it didn't end well at Louisville. But just because you can't win big at Louisville doesn't mean it won't work at Florida State. Just like Shaka Smart proved, just because you can't win big at Texas doesn't mean you can't go to a completely different type of school like Marquette and be a top 10 caliber program. So who knows? I'd make a run at Danny Hurley.
Would you?
He can't love living in stores, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he's looking for a different challenge.
Like, would you rather go for the guy that hasn't been at this level? So, like in my example, like would you rather have a Bryce Drew, who I think started maybe at Valpo and now he's been at Grand Canyon and they've been in the tournament, I think maybe back-to-back years, maybe 3 out of the last 4 or something like that. Would you rather have a guy who hasn't proven that he failed at this level, or would you rather give a retread, like a Mac or a Richard Pitino who was at Minnesota, didn't do great at Minnesota, now he's at New Mexico, has them back in the dance? Like the devil you know versus the devil you don't know, I guess.
It's a good question. I don't honestly. It's a good question. I don't have an answer for. I think it
Come
really
on,
would
Corey,
depend.
you have an opinion on it though.
But you're asking me, would I rather have a Drew or Chris Mack? Honestly, kind of neither. I think Mack, somebody like Mack, is more of a sure thing in the sense that they won't be a flat out embarrassment. They are never going to be god-awful. But I don't know what the ceiling is with one of his teams. I know he had Xavier as a number 1 seed.
He did.
And they lost in the second round. Famously to was Florida State a 9 that year, an 8 or a 9 that year? Well, they had to be because it was the second round. But, his teams didn't ever seem all that tough. But they were talented. So that's my point. I think it would depend on the person. I guess I would say I would probably want somebody like Mack who has proven he can do it at this level, but not at the exclusion of somebody that I'm really excited about that's never done it at this level before.
All right. I like the guy that hasn't shown me that he's failed. Like I'd rather all right, who knows? Like we never really honestly know, right? But
yeah.
So why not go with this guy versus the guy that we've seen him not be able to fulfill his vast potential. By the way, Florida State was a 9 seed that year. We knew they were either 8 or 9, but I don't remember if they were the 8 or the 9, but they were the 9. So in case people were fact-checking us.
Was Jack LaLanne alive for that, or had he already died?
I think he was still alive. I'll fact-check that.
That's good. I hope he got to see that game.
After I read this next question. We'll go to our guy, Mathis Jones. Actually, I'm not going to wait. He passed away in 2011, so no, he was not with us at that time.
Oh, he didn't even get to see the ACC championship in 2012. That's too bad.
Mathis Jones. Wow, Mathis Jones has been around forever. Is this his first time on the Renegade Express? He's been around for so many times. He's posted 2,800 times on the forums, Corey. He's got 11,000 thumbs up response.
Okay, Mathis.
Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it. We got a legend here, a GOAT. According to Alabama's On3 website, Malik Benson looked like a future All-American last spring when he joined the team. Their site insiders expected much more from him than what they ended up getting. Because of that, I have some trepidation. That said, I feel as if the wide receiver room has the largest range of floor versus ceiling. Yeah. Benson, Hakeem, Kentron, Destin all feel like they could be big-time receivers at their best. But out of those four, only Kentron has ever topped even 200 in a season. Yards, that is. So, do we have a number one receiver on the roster, or do we have a bunch of number twos and number threes?
We don't know. It's a fair question. It's the question we're going to try to answer this spring.
Grand slam of don't knows out of Corey Clark before the 30-minute mark of the show today.
How could we right now, right? I mean, I think it's more of a rhetorical question almost. It's something that has to be proven. We've seen one day of practice. And nothing on Tuesday made me think that, that's a definite number one guy. Yeah. Like, I think Malik Benson's going to play and play a lot, but I don't know if he's a guy that's going to he's going to be your outright, that's the guy at the top of the scouting report.
Did they have a number one last year?
I mean, yeah, Keon, I think. You could say a 1 and a 1A, but yeah, I think Keon was the guy that defenses had to absolutely account for. Oh. We don't know who that guy is on this team yet. But it could be Malik. Hakeem is a guy. Destin Hill, I thought, looked really good on Tuesday. But I'm not trying to just ride the fence on this question. It literally was like one day. Malik Benson made a couple of really nice catches. Also got locked up by Azarie. Jaylen Brown certainly looks the part athletically, can really move. But he had one catch in team drills. So it's just hard to know right now. We will know so much more by the time the spring game is played. We will have when you get to watch these things every day, practice after practice, week after week, you do get a feel for, okay, yeah, that guy is the guy. I think we will know. One or two or three of these guys will separate themselves from the pack, I think, by April, which really doesn't even have to be done. It just has to be done by August. But I think by the middle of April, we'll know which of these, if they have a potential All-American, All-Conference type of receiver, or if they do have a bunch of twos, which, that's not terrible either. Like, okay, you might not have a superstar wide receiver, but if you have 5 dudes that are probably NFL caliber receivers, they're not Malik Neighbors, but they're NFL caliber receivers, that's going to be a pretty good offense, I think.
I just wish there was 2 good, points on the spectrum we could use for this. Like, I know obviously like last year we could maybe call that like a gold standard of sorts in terms of wide receivers. But I don't, if you put the 21 receiving core and the 23 receiving core on opposite ends of the spectrum, this group I think is certainly in the middle and just a shade closer to last year's group.
I think it might be a lot more. We'll see.
Yeah,
right?
Probably,
we don't know yet.
That's the thing. When you're comparing, 21 was just so inadequate.
Yes.
You're obvious. That's a too low of a bar. And I think last year was probably too high of a bar to try to pigeonhole this group of guys. But, I just don't think they're going to be anything close to what 23 was. But thankfully, they're not going to be anything close to what 21 was either. Basically is what I'm trying to say there. So
okay. All right, buddy.
Vitamin Energy, everybody. VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code WarChant BOGO, WarChant BOGO. Shake it, take it, energize yourself for 7 and more hours with 260 milligrams of all natural caffeine. Or as a guy out there in San Diego was saying, just be careful, cool it. If you're over the age of 50, Chris says in San Diego, just take half of a shot, and then you end up getting 4 servings for the price of 1. Well, really 2, because you're going to take half the bottle. I'm not great with math, but I know that much. But when you buy one, get one free, then at that point, you're doubling things up, so you are at 4 servings for the price of 1. There are vitamins and nutrients in every bottle of VitaminEnergy.com, tailor-made for your goals, whether it's energy, whether it's fitness goals, whether it's mood goals, whether it's acuity, sharpness. It's all there for you in one bottle, not even 2 fluid ounces. Tastes pretty darn solid as well. It is the world's first and only clinically proven, clinically tested energy shot. So give it a shot. Go to VitaminEnergy.com and use the promo code Corey.
WarChant BOGO.
All right, we got Tennis Ump here. He says, wake up. Thank you, Tennis Ump. Shout out Birmingham, stand up. How much more developed physically is this team than, let's say, 3 years ago? Also, is this the most speed that Mike has had in his time here? Thanks as always.
Well, it's absolutely the most speed they've had. And we're not even counting like because he's probably not going to play much this year. But the Danzy kid, right? Isn't he a speedster too?
Yeah.
And he's not even on campus yet. But yes, it'll be the Lucas. I mean, I just can't get over how fast he was. Lucas,
I know, but like Trey Benson
Jalen
was
Brown.
Trey Benson was really fast, and so was Jarian Jones or Renardo Green. But I guess
when I think of speed, yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't know why my mind just always goes to offense. I think it's absolutely the fastest offense he will have had. I know he doesn't have Benson, but everybody out wide can move. There were times, honestly. Look, at the end of last year, Keon was moving like a tight end, like a fast tight end. That's kind of what Johnny was always like. I mean, he was faster than a tight end, but you are now talking about legit, I think, 4-4 guys, 4-3 guys. So that's just a difference. That's a difference with Ja'Kai, Jalen Brown, Ja'Kai's brother. All the names are running together, folks.
Jalen Lucas, yeah.
Tiger McMillan. All these names are running together. Did I just Malik Benson, guys like that? I think you're looking at Destin Hill, Vandravius, Hakeem can move. They are just Cam Fryer. They are a faster group from top to bottom than he's ever had. And so we'll see how it translates to wins and losses. But I do think that they're fast and size-wise, Aslan. Again, they weren't in pads, but it's night and day from what it was in 2020 and 2021, in my opinion. There are big dudes everywhere. On the line of scrimmage, the Murphy kid is huge at linebacker. I just think they're much bigger and more physical than they've ever been.
I mean, 21 you had Jermaine, and
that was about it.
Yeah, that really was about it. But Josh Farmer looks so scary. Darrell Jackson looks maybe even scarier. So right there, you kind of win that battle. But the body by storm thing, it's a real thing. I mean, the offensive line is going to be nice and stout. I mean, I know we're not really looking at this as being part of being more physically developed, but look at DJ. I mean, DJ Uyunglele is the huge dude, and you can't give Josh Storms credit for that, but they've got grown men, physically developed, peak shape all across the board at every position. So it's fun when you're going into a season with this much good vibes behind you versus, say, 3 years ago. Armchair Osceola, wake up. Hope you gentlemen are faring well. Okay, here's a question. You have to switch your roles with one player for practice. You have to go through their drills. They have to write an article for Warchant. The catch is that the swap has to be as close to passable as possible, so the article has to be coherent, and you have to be able to finish the drills without looking too bad. Who are you choosing? If a player is too hard, what about a coach? Thank you both for your consistent service, Armchair. Thank you for realizing the consistency is what we go for on here. Maybe not the greatness, but just consistency. We're here when you need us.
So our jobs of doing a podcast,
or for you writing an article, who do you think might be a good penman, maybe a good scribe?
I'm an old guy, but I'm going to say none of them because I don't think any of them read sports articles anymore. I think they listen to podcasts or they might read Twitter and they look at stuff on TikTok. Do kids read sports articles?
Yeah, they read Warchant.
And if you don't read them, you're not going to know how to write them.
They read
so
Warchant.
That's why I wondered.
They read Warchant. They read your stuff.
Yeah, you're probably right. I hope they do. So, I think Azarie could do it.
Yeah, okay.
But then do I have to be Azarie?
Yeah, you got to be as close to passable as possible. I was going to take one of the walk-on quarterbacks. I think they could film, practice good enough, and I could be the fifth guy and throw a 6-yard out passable. Close enough.
But they could string videos together and produce a podcast and stuff, you think?
I mean, one aspect. I mean, the raw video that you guys watch at practice, God love you all. There's not a lot of my skills being demonstrated in that. I think I could get most people up to speed on that pretty quickly. But can he get it upload as fast as I do? Probably not. But again, it's tough to. We do so many things, Corey. You're no longer just a writer. I'm no longer just a video guy.
Right.
They're not nearly. Let's be honest. They're not nearly as well rounded as we are. All right. Let's be honest.
Correct. Hey, that's almost understood. It's implied. We don't have to say it. I'm trying to think of so my role in a practice. I wouldn't want any part of any of it. So it's hard to, like a coach, David Johnson.
Okay.
I'd be a running backs coach.
Would you have the squirt gun out there during special teams?
Yeah, well, I'm always really bored during special teams. So just to keep myself entertained, yes, I would have to have a squirt gun or like a one of those slime sticks or something. I could slime them. Okay. Just something to keep my brain occupied, because I'm telling you, I know they love it. That's why Florida State's Florida State. That's why that coaching staff is that coaching staff. But that's always 4 periods of practice where I'm barely paying attention.
Honesty, you get it here every day, as well as consistency, folks, on the pod. All right, what else we got here? Mimi Knoll. I'm trying to pull up the video here, so tap dance maybe for a second or two, Corey, if I can pull up practice video from Tuesday. But she says, wake up, or maybe him, Mimi Knoll 14. Wake up, when is pro day for FSU? Does Warchant attend? It's Friday, and yes. I don't think I'm going, though. At least I told Ira I didn't plan on going because I can't film it. And there's nobody out there giving us official times. So I'm just kind of like, well, maybe I shouldn't go.
When is it?
It is Friday. I don't 10 a.m., 9 a.m.? I'm going to say roughly.
So you don't know.
I still don't think they've given us the start time on it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
They just told us that pro day is Friday. So, and then they ask, who do you think will return kicks and punts? Trying to pull up the video. He was actually out there doing it the other day.
I think Lucas is going to be a kick returner for sure. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Who did I see working at kick returner? Keziah Holmes, Toafili.
I think Vandravius is back there still doing punts. I think
Deuce, obviously.
You said Azarie for punts, or yes or no?
I did not say Azarie, but yeah, okay.
He was out there on Tuesday with punts. So.
Deuce was there for kicks. I think Destin Hill was out. Yeah, I know Destin Hill was out there for kicks. But I still think, I think Lucas, he was an All-American 2 years ago returning kicks. I think he has 3 kick return touchdowns in his career. I feel like that's a natural guy to put that back there, at least to start, and see, who can compete with him.
I mean, the amount of content we cranked out it's unfathomable. I couldn't even really find it, but now I do. But, yeah, you said all the names there, so are we still waiting for the first kickoff touchdown? Or no, did Trey do that? Did Trey return a kickoff for a touchdown?
And so did Deuce Spann, my man, last year against Duke.
Deuce. Yeah, we've had a couple of those already. So, those are the candidates for the special teams part of the program, if you will. Yeah, I can't find it quick enough. I'm not that good at this. I mean, I'm decent. Luane McCoy. Did you say Luane McCoy?
I did not. No.
He's out there. So Ja'Kai was out there. Luane McCoy was out there. 13, that's Jalen Lucas.
Okay.
He was out there doing punts. And Azarie. Those are the 4 guys doing punts. Luane McCoy, Ja'Kai Douglas, his brother Jalen Lucas, and Azarie Thomas. They're your 4 candidates for punts, at least after 1 day of spring football practice. Mimi.
All right. Okay. All right.
All right. The tournament does start, everybody. Officially today. Go to mybookie.ag, and when you sign up for the first time, you can use the promo code WARCHANT. You get an instant cash deposit bonus. Can UConn go back-to-back? Plus 375 to repeat as champions. Houston, plus 575. Purdue at plus 650. So Arizona's plus 1,300. So not even the number 1 seeds aren't locked into the number 1 spots here on the board at MyBookie. So maybe you have a hunch as well. Use that and profit. Obviously, they've got the sports book going on. They've got the live betting aspect. There's also a live casino, and you can use your bonus to help you out there as well. MyBookie.ag. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Disclaimer, though. Promo requires $50 minimum deposit and rollover requirement of one-timer deposit total, including bonus for withdrawal. For full terms and conditions, visit mybookie.ag/about-us. On the way out, Corey, we should get that sponsored by somebody. I don't know, like maybe DoorDash? Like on the way out.
On the way out, yeah.
Brought to you by DoorDash. Okay. I'll see if that can work out. But we did, again, speak to 7 dudes on Wednesday that will be performing on Friday's Pro Day. We spoke a little about Verse. Braden Fisk, I know I'm an adult. I can't buy a jersey. Like wearing a jersey is like very faux pas. I won't go that far. I'm not going to buy a Braden Fisk jersey. But, man, I will be rooting very, very loudly for whoever drafts him. He's all-time. He is so mature, and real. Like everything he's saying is like thought out, but it's not contrived, and it's coming from a really sincere place, and it's so like illuminating into who he is and why he is where he's at this point in his life and his career. I think it's super cool that he plans on watching the draft up in Michigan City, which is in Indiana, not in Michigan, kids, because of just how important he kind of knows that he is to that community. Anything else from Braden and the other guys that we spoke to on Tuesday that you should share with the folks listening?
No, you nailed it. But I agree with you about Braden. He's very, very easy to root for. Not just because of how he plays on the field. He is real is a good way to put it. He's so unaffected by I feel like he answers a question as if we were sitting on a patio just talking.
Yep.
Like he answers it the same way, whether there's 10 cameras pointed at him or just no cameras pointed at him. He answers it real and honest. And yeah, I think he's a great representative of Florida State. Well, all those guys. I mean, Trey Benson too, man. Trey Benson, it's going to be interesting with him, right? Like I saw on the bottom line scroll, I think somebody has him as the number 2 running back on the board. Kuiper or whoever else has it's probably the NFL Network, so we have Bucky Brooks, somebody like that. But yeah, it's just going to be interesting where he goes, but either way, he just seems like just a genuine kid, just a genuine person. Both those guys, all those guys, I guess, and that's the way they talked about Jordan Travis was cool. And yeah, I just I know if people watch those interviews, I didn't do it with every coach and I didn't do it with every player on Wednesday, but I keep pointing out how talented that team was and trying to get them to maybe take the bait a little bit. And they did. Braden Fisk did a little bit. He's like, yeah, I had teams asking me, how did I feel about getting left out? He's like, how do you think I felt? It sucked. And so and I can see him saying that to a GM. Like, well, what do you mean? Yeah, it sucked. It was terrible. We're good.
Because they want to see the hurt. They want to see the hurt, right? They want to know that you love football, that you love being a competitor, that you want. Yeah. They want to know that, and it was worn on Braden's sleeve. I can only imagine when he was.
But didn't you think, like, all around there was some pride, at least with most of the guys talking about their teammates?
Oh yeah.
Like in what they accomplished at Florida State. Again, I think that's cool and that's unique because there's a chance 3 years from now if Norvell has this thing really running. It's just expected. But this team did something that I don't think was expected, number one. It also came out of a valley where it was the worst stretch in program history almost. And then they went 13-0. So there's always going to be an immense pride, I would think, in those guys that led the way and got this team in this program back to where it is now. So, yeah, I just think you could feel that. You could feel that sense of pride that they had. And I thought they were all really honest about the Orange Bowl. I guess only Verse and Trey were asked about it. But they made sense. Like, Verse was like, yeah, it really hurt. And I did go back and forth, and I did want to play. And he's like, I do think that if I played, it wouldn't have looked like that. Because I would have given the offense – I could have helped give the offense a couple more possessions. But then he also was real and said – when I found out that even if I would play, the other guys that would be sitting out, it was like, well, why do I want to risk getting hurt? If he didn't say this, but if we don't really have a chance to win, what's the point of me playing and risking myself going up against a tackle who's trying to make a name for himself or blah, blah, blah.
I know that was kind of crazy. It kind of makes sense, but it puts us in their mind space, Corey, that, it's always going to be difficult for us talking about this, listening to this podcast to think about what a guy like Jared Verse is having to process making that decision. It's
real though, right? Like that's a real thing. I think we were getting a real insight into what he was thinking.
Yeah, just like, all right, man, there might be some 18-year-old kid who's like, oh, I'm going up against a first rounder. I want to make sure I'm starting next season. I've got to play 110%. I got to be Rudy at practice at Notre Dame.
Right.
And like guys are like, hey man, what are you doing? Chill out there. So things that we don't factor in. It was kind of cool to hear him bring that to the table.
And then Benson, basically said, I think if we'd all played, if the whole team had played, it would have looked a lot different. And I wanted to be like, yeah, no duh. I think if the entire Florida State team played with Rodemaker at quarterback, I don't think Georgia scores 63 points, and I don't think they win by 60. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I think Georgia probably wins, maybe, and I think they win 20-17. It was a whole different ball game when literally every – did Akeem Dent play in that game?
No.
Deloach played maybe 12 snaps. Nobody else we're talking to in the 2 days, all these draftable guys, besides Dimitri Emmanuel, I guess, played in the game. So that just tells you what kind of talent was missing. And we don't need to talk about the Orange Bowl, but it is I thought it was refreshing that they were honest that it did hurt. And they did, Jared said, I do have some regrets about it. At the end of the day, he's got to do what he had to do, and it made sense. I mean, he's going to be a top 15 pick perhaps. And they had no chance of winning whether he played or not. No chance. So, that factors into it too. But yeah, I would encourage everybody to go watch all those videos because Lord knows we got a lot of them for you. Go watch those videos and listen to what they talk about the Orange Bowl and the whole draft process.
By the way, I can't go without correcting you on that. Kalen played 52 snaps, man.
No way.
Yeah, man, he was the only guy out there, man.
In the Orange Bowl he did?
Yeah.
Good for him. Him and Ja'Kai, man. So I want to put that out there. Like Ja'Kai, he doesn't get talked about a lot when we talk about this offense. And he probably should more than we do because I think he will be a part of the offense because he always is. But forever credit to that kid for running as hard and playing as hard as he did in that game. He played running back and also receiver, but he played running back and ran hard. And tried his absolute best, and I hope people always remember that, even in a 60-point grotesque, not even game, that Ja'Kai showed up and played. And now that I know Deloach played 52 snaps, really?
Yeah, man.
That's crazy. Good for him. So, yeah, same for Kalen Deloach. Forever be grateful that kid showed up and played as many snaps as he did in a game he knew his team had no business being in.
I should have said yes, sir. Instead of, man. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, what also stood out to me was the way that Akeem talked about Coach Norvell. And I know
good point.
A lot of people out there like comparing, Norvell to Bowden. And I just think Bobby's one of one for all time. But, you got a kid who's from South Florida talking about another man. I mean, he's a man. Akeem's a man. And Norvell grew up in the suburbs of Dallas. I think of Dallas in Texas. And, I think, he did not maybe have the best nuclear family growing up. And then you hear a guy like Akeem that I'm sure when he was 17 years old, he was told that he was the savior of himself, his family, his community. He was going to be a 5-star and he's going to go to Tallahassee for 3 years and then be on to the NFL. And it didn't work out that way. I mean, he committed to Jimbo, enrolled under Willie and leaves as Mike Norvell being his coach, doesn't go to the combine, could be bitter and upset about it, but just has used it to be a chip on his shoulder. And I asked him just when things don't work out the way you intended it to, but you've ended up on the other side seemingly in a pretty good position. Like, what are the things you like about yourself? 4 or 5 years after enrolling at Florida State, and just talked about how, he looks at Mike Norvell as a father figure to him. Like I get it, man. Like Mike instills discipline in these guys. They all love just how much he's changed their work ethic and the way they approach and apply playing football, but I never realized that maybe they could also look at it for like a different dimension, if you will. So, man, that's the great thing about sports, man. It really does break so many different barriers, and the fact that Akeem would think that, Mike could help lead him in a direction that he didn't have maybe early in his life it's really awesome, man. It just, again, underscores just how fortunate
talked about his morals, right?
Yeah.
And the morals that he follows that Norvell has and instills and displays. Yeah, that's I assume Mike saw that. I hope he did, or somebody told him about it, because I just think that has to mean a lot. And I don't think it's just coach speak. I don't think it's just trite and cliche. When kids like Akeem Dent, who could have been very bitter about his career and how it played out, talk like that about his third head coach at Florida State, really, because he committed to Jimbo, not Willie, and he played for Willie, and like you said, he finished with Norvell. I just think that's something that's a feather in Mike Norvell's cap. Not that he's looking to brag about it, but I do think with him, I do think that means something to him. I really do, and maybe it does for most coaches. Maybe we paint them with a broad brush, but for Norvell, I really do think that matters to him to develop those relationships with guys like Akeem Dent.
Well said, Corey.
Thanks, buddy.
Then I put a bow on us today. We're done. But guess what? We're going to be live tonight, everybody, 8 p.m. Get the vitamin energy coursing through your veins early and often. We'll be heading back from practice to our stations at home and then doing a live show for you folks from 8 o'clock until probably about 8:45 or so.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm not lying. These are my favorite 48 hours of the year watching basketball. We're going to be interviewing 8 players and covering practice and doing a live show. Got to carve out some me time, everybody. All right? You do that for yourselves as well. Hopefully this is part of your me time, everybody. Like, babe, got to listen to the guys. It's wake-up time. But hopefully you guys listen to it together.
And hey, babe, Corey says hello. I'm talking to whatever babe we're referencing there.
Well, whoever's listening to the show and their girlfriend or their boyfriend. You know, we got women that listen to the show as well, too. So, all right, I'm going to stop rambling.
Looks like pro day starts at 9 a.m. on Friday.
Oh.
Yep.
I'm just that much glad that I bowed out.
You're not even going. What do you care? Yeah.
I have empathy. I don't know why Ira keeps doing this himself. He's going to wake up and do it and cover it to the hilt. That's why we're the ultimate Seminoles sports source.
Yep.
His work.
Well, Ira is. Ira is anyway.
I have not picked up his morals.
I'm literally trying to see, because I told him I wanted to credential, and now I'm like, I don't know. Do I need to see Jared? I don't need to. Who am I going to watch run? Akeem, and Dimitri Emmanuel? I don't know. I can. And you're right. We don't even know the times. So we'll see. I probably will be there on Friday, but who knows? Anybody's guess.
21.5 over-under reps Trey Benson does of 225, Corey. Or 19.5.
I was going to say, I'd still go under there, okay. but that's a good number. I think I would definitely go under 21. That seems like a lot for a running back. By the way, he looked, he's always been enormous, like muscular. His face, and this is something I've noticed about myself, Aslan, as I've worked out more, is I start looking at the male body more than I should, I guess, or appreciating it more than I should. But even his jaw looked a little more chiseled. Is that a weird thing to say on a podcast about a running back?
Probably, but you're married. You're comfortable in your skin. It's fine. It's 2024. I get it, man. You're like, all right, I can appreciate that. Well done, man. I'm trying to do something.
But it looked like he was even not just like I noticed it, but then I was like, man, he looks even more jacked than he has, which would make sense because he's probably been training harder these last 3 weeks than he ever has, especially because he's about to try to do a bench. So he probably his face did. It just looked a little more chiseled, and it was always chiseled. Much like my face, Aslan. Would you say my face is always chiseled?
Very pronounced features, strong jawline.
Yeah,
Clark.
Sure. Exactly right.
Jeff Cameron, 1 to 3 o'clock. We'll be back again live tonight at 8 o'clock. YouTube, set your notifications for that. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. Certainly would appreciate it. Maybe a 5-star rating and review. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.